Hey guys, good morning. So we are moving on to our next topic, which is dividing by multiples of 10. So I think most of you are going to notice that this says 5-4, and you're probably thinking, Tackett, yesterday we did 5-1. What happened to 5-2 and 5-3? Well, yours truly does not really like the order that our textbook goes in for this topic. So I prefer to skip once we learn about patterns with dividing, to skip into dividing by multiples of 10. So let's break down what that means. So we know that 10, obviously, is the number 10, and multiples of 10 mean any number that is a 10 times table. So 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, basically any number that ends in 0. Okay, so all of our divisors today are going to be a multiple of 10. So that does not mean our dividend will always be a multiple of 10. And we're going to talk about how we can problem solve when we get to those trickier problems. So let's take a look at this first problem together. It says your soccer team has $160 to buy uniforms that cost $20 each. How many uniforms can they buy? So you're probably already thinking, Tackett, I know how to do this because you taught us the zeros trick where I can cross out my zeros, bam, bam, and know that 16 divided by 2 is 8. They can buy 8 uniforms. Let me show you what that looks like when we're doing a traditional division problem where we're not crossing out the zeros. So I'm going to look at 20 and know that 20 cannot fit into 1. So I'm going to put my X there. 20 cannot fit into 16. Therefore, now I know that my answer is going to be a one-digit answer. 20 can only fit into 160 in a one-digit form. So it can't fit in there 10 times because that would be 200. That would be too big. So now I'm going to think about my first number of my divisor, and I'm going to think about the first two numbers of my dividend. So some teachers might tell you, oh, just count by 20s and see how close you can get. That's one strategy, right? But I don't like the strategy of counting on my hands because I think we as mathematicians are stronger than that. So let's think about how many times can 2 fit into 16? 8. That's going to give me a really close estimate. Now, we already know that 8 is the answer. So this is just kind of for show to show you how to do this. Then I'm going to do my multiplication step. 8 times 20 is 160. I subtract, and I have 0. Let's take a few more problems and do some together. So get your whiteboard ready or your notebook, whatever you're using to practice problems along with me before you start your practice all by yourself. Okay, so we're going to take them one problem at a time. So I'm going to start with my problem on the left, which is 413 divided by 40. So let's go ahead and break this problem down. Now, I could count by 40s to see how many times my dividend or divisor can fit into my dividend. But I don't really want to count by 40s, and I don't know my 40s times tables very well, so I'm going to skip that step. I'm going to first see how many digits is my answer going to be. So my quotient. Can 40 fit into 4? It cannot. So I'm going to put my X up there. Now, here's what's interesting. Can 40 fit into 41? It can. That means that my answer is going to be 2 digits. Okay, I'm going to have a 2-digit answer because I know that 40 can fit into 41 one time. I'm going to go ahead and stick that up there in my quotient because I know that 40 times 1 is 40, identity property. And then I'm going to subtract and bring down, and I get 13. Well, this looks kind of funky. What do you guys think I need to do next? Can 40 fit into 13? There's nothing else to bring down. So if 40 can't fit into 13, what do I put up in my quotient? A 0. And I would have a remainder of 13. My answer would be 10 remainder 13. Sometimes when we get to that step where we have to put a 0 in the quotient, everybody gets all nervous and they don't know what to do. But if 40 can't fit into 13, then you put a 0 in that quotient. Don't be afraid to do that. And here's my double checking. Is my remainder, 13, smaller than my divisor? It is. I could check this with multiplication and do 40 times 10 is 400. 400 plus 13 is 413. So I know that I got the right answer. Let's take our next problem. 766 divided by 80. Let's first start with trying to figure out how many digits my quotient will be, how many digits will be in my answer. So can 80 fit into 7? It cannot. Can 80 fit into 76? It cannot. That means my answer is going to have one digit. That is very important so that I know when I will stop with my answer. So I could count by 80s. I could do what I used to do when I was a little kid, which was on the side of my paper, I would do 80 times 3, figure it out. 80 times 4, figure it out. 80 times 5, figure it out. And that just took way too long. Like, who wants to sit there and just do all that extra work? So I'm going to kind of look at just my 8 and just my 76. So that's the Tackett method. I like to look at just that first digit of my divisor and then my first 2 digits of my dividend. So in your head, I want you to think about how many times can 8 fit into 76? 9 times, right? So 9 times 8 is 72. That's pretty close. On the side of my paper, I'm just going to figure out what is 80 times 9. It should be 720. That's really close to 766, and it's close without going over. If I move to 80 times 10, well, that wouldn't work because my answer can only be one digit. So I'm going to put 9 up there, and I'm going to do my subtraction. And I get a remainder of 46. And that's all I do, okay? The next problem I want you to try on your own. It's going to be 282 divided by 20. So take a minute, pause this, and then I'll show you what you do. So go ahead and hit pause and try to solve this one on your own. Pause. Okay. If you've unpaused, that means you figured this problem out. So let's start with how many digits my answer will be. 20 cannot fit into 2. 20 can fit into 28 one time. That means my quotient will be 2 digits. I'm going to bring down my 2. And now I'm going to think about how many times can 20 fit into 82. Now, if that's too crazy for my brain to figure out, I could just think about how many times can 2 fit into 8. 2, 4, 6, 8, about 4 times. And I know that 4 times 20 would be 80. I subtract, and I should have had for my answer 14 remainder 2. Go ahead and let's do the same on the next one. Solve this problem on your own, hit pause, and then hit play when you're ready to go over how to do it. So pause, and you're back. Let's figure this one out. So can 30 fit into 3? It cannot. Can 30 fit into 34? It can, one time. Subtract, bring down my 5. Can 30 fit into 45? Only one more time, right? And then I do my subtraction, and I get a remainder of 15. So hopefully you understand why I jumped ahead to 5-4, because I think we're totally ready to tackle these problems. So today when you're going through your practice, remember my little Tackett trick of using just that first digit of your divisor and the first 2 of your dividend so that the numbers don't seem so crazy and big. All right, good luck.